Dust hovered over the forward operating base, thick and gritty, clinging to the air beneath a sun-bleached canvas awning where the morning briefing dragged on. Maps lay flattened across a metal table. Radios spat, bursts of static. Boots shifted against loose gravel. When the deputy began to speak, his voice steady and controlled. The senior officer interrupted him mid-thought, without lifting his eyes. A few men chuckled under their breath. Someone at the back sighed loudly. Another leaned close to whisper, "Not quite quietly enough. Why is he even here?" The deputy offered no response. His stance remained rigid, shoulders squared, though his jaw tightened just enough to reveal restraint. He clasped his hands behind his back, his fingers whitening as he slowed his breathing deliberately. The skepticism in the space wasn't loud. It didn't need to be. It lived in exchanged looks, crooked smiles, and unspoken judgments pressing in from every side. He stared forward in silence. As if remaining unheard was safer than inviting scrutiny, his name was Lieutenant Aaron Cole, 27 years old. Recently assigned as deputy to Colonel Marcus Hale, one of the most respected field commanders in the region. On paper, position carried weight. In practice, it painted a target on his back. He didn't fit the image. Too young, too quiet. His frame was lean, almost fragile compared to the broad, battle-worn officers typically seen beside a man like Hale. His posture at attention was flawless, yet it only emphasized how slight he appeared among them. Some whispered that he looked better suited to a desk than a battlefield. Certainly not walking beside a commander. Hardened by 3 deployments, what most of them knew or believed was that Cole had transferred from logistics 6 months earlier. Supply chains, inventory systems, scheduling, paperwork. To them, that meant spreadsheets, not sandstorms. Screens, not firefights. They joked about it openly. "Careful," someone muttered once, smirking. "He might file a requisition on you." Laughter followed. Aaron heard everything. He always did. He never reacted. He walked half a step behind Colonel Hale, clipboard tucked under his arm, eyes moving constantly but subtly. When Hale spoke, Aaron listened. When others talked over him, he stepped back without objection. The pattern formed quickly. His ideas were ignored until someone else repeated them later. His questions were met with sighs or silence. His presence became procedural rather than essential. During one route planning session, quietly indicated a narrow valley on the map. "That road creates a funnel," he said. "If something goes wrong, extraction becomes, 'We've used it before.'" Captain interrupted, already turning the page. "No issues." Aaron nodded and said nothing. As the meeting broke, 2 soldiers lingered near the doorway. "Kid thinks he's tactical," one whispered. "Let him learn," the other replied. "Reality teaches better than logistics manuals." Aaron passed them without expression. Inside, he felt the constant abrasion, the burden of being judged by people who had never once asked him a serious question. He'd learned early that reacting only fed the fire. Silence made people underestimate him, and sometimes that was safer. Beneath his collarbone lay a thin, pale scar barely visible above his uniform. No one noticed. No one asked. He never offered an explanation. There were other things people missed. When Aaron entered a room, attentive eyes didn't go to faces. They moved to exits, corners, blind spots. He counted people instinctively, silently. 1, 2, 3. He always knew the number. When helicopters thundered overhead, rattling tents and tools, others flinched. Aaron didn't. His breathing didn't change. His eyes didn't widen. Noise held no authority over him. People sensed it not consciously, but instinctively. Something about him unsettled them, even as they dismissed him. Colonel Hale treated him with distant professionalism. Fair, but detached. Quietness, to Hale, looked too much like hesitation. Hale had been told the deputy was temporary, a placeholder. Someone to manage reports, schedules, coordination, a logistics mind, not a combat one. And so that was how Aaron was seen, not as a soldier, but as a clerk. At meals, conversations flowed around him like water around a stone. War stories were told, loudly embellished, heroic. Aaron listened without interrupting, hands folded, posture straight. He never said that happened to me too. He didn't need to. Once in the mess tent, a corporal nodded toward him. Betty's never fired under pressure. Aaron heard it. He kept eating. He absorbed humiliation the way some men absorbed heat, quietly, without reaction. Not because he was weak, but because he understood that strength didn't require witnesses. Night. When the base settled into murmurs and static, he sometimes stood near the perimeter, scanning the darkness without appearing to scan. He knew the rhythm of the guards' footsteps, the spacing between floodlights, the blind gaps in visibility. No one asked how. They saw his age, his transfer record, his silence, and they built a version of him that suited their assumptions. Aaron allowed it not because he agreed, but because he understood that truth often arrived late and rarely needed permission by the time they truly noticed him. Something would already be wrong and he would already be moving. The first warning came, disguised as routine. Orders arrived for coordinated movements across the valley, supply transfers, reconnaissance sweeps, a diplomatic escort. Nothing dramatic, nothing urgent. But something in it set Aaron on edge. He waited until the briefing thinned, till the loud voices drifted toward coffee and jokes. Then he stepped closer to Hale. "Sir," he said quietly, indicating the map. "This corridor has too many blind ridges. If someone were tracking patterns, they'd start here." Hale glanced down barely a second. "We've used that route before. No incidents." "Yes, sir," Aaron replied. "But patterns change." Hale's jaw tightened. Noted. By evening, the plan moved forward unchanged. Word spread not about the map, but about Aaron. "Kid's paranoid," someone muttered. "He sees ghosts and shadows." They laughed. Aaron kept walking. The second moment was social. The unit gathered in the rec tent. Exhaustion loosened tongues. Music hummed from a radio. Cards slapped the table. Stories grew louder, rougher, the kind that built reputations. Aaron sat at the edge, listening. A lieutenant began retelling an old ambush story, dramatizing the escape. "And then we flanked them, clean extraction." Aaron lifted his eyes. "That valley only has one flanking path," he said evenly. "It collapses under heavy movement. You'd have been boxed in." Silence flickered, then laughter. "Oh, here we go. What would you know? Logistics hero." Aaron didn't argue. He stood and left. The laughter resumed, but softer, less certain. The third moment was tactical. A patrol returned late, shaken. Movement spotted along the ridge too, organized for wildlife. Officers debated. Most dismissed it. Aaron spoke calmly. "If they were watching," he said, "they weren't observing us. They were mapping timing." A major waved him off. "You've got a lot of theories." "Their behaviors," Aaron replied. That night, 2 communication relays glitched for 30 seconds. No one connected it. Not yet. By the 4th day, tension hung like static. Jokes faded into whispers. Smirks became cautious glances. Colonel Hale began noticing not Aaron's accuracy, but his presence. The way he stood angled, never relaxed. Always watching doors. Authority rarely corrected itself out loud. The emotional weight followed. Aaron overheard. 2 sergeants near the armory. "One mistake, and we pay for it." "You think Hale even trusts him?" Aaron didn't stop walking. That night, near the fence, he felt only exhaustion. Not anger fatigue. From carrying knowledge no one asked for. From being measured by the wrong standard. Silence, he knew, wasn't weakness. Sometimes it was containment. On the 5th morning, intercepted chatter arrived, fragmented, unclear. Aaron read it twice. "This sounds like rehearsal," he told Hale. "You're seeing patterns again," Hale replied. "If I'm wrong, nothing changes," Aaron said quietly. "That's enough." Aaron straightened. "Yes, sir." Left under a heavier silence than any insult. That night, a false alert dimmed the base lights. Aaron didn't sleep. The final warning came as a joke. "Hey, deputy," someone laughed. "Predict anything else?" Aaron turned, expression tired, not angry. "I hope I'm wrong," he said. The laughter died into unease. Uncertainty had arrived. When schedules tightened further, Aaron spoke once more. "This compresses our response window." Hale looked at him, really looked at him, then shook his head. "We move forward." Aaron nodded. Inside, something shifted. Not fear, readiness. Because whatever was coming, he already knew. And no one else did. Not yet. At times, memories surfaced, not as complete images, but as broken impressions. A breath held a second too long. A silent count whispered under pressure. Hand signals that no longer existed. Sounds that once meant move, others that meant wait. He didn't know why they were returning now, only that they felt closer. Like footsteps just beyond hearing range. Someone else noticed him, a metacolder, observed, someone who watched more than she spoke. She passed Aaron in the corridor, slowed, then stopped. Looked at him again. "You weren't always a deputy, were you?" She said softly. Aaron met her gaze. There was no challenge in it. It's no fear. Just stillness. "No," he replied. She nodded once, as if confirming something she already knew, and walked on. No one else heard the exchange. Colonel Hale began to feel unsettled, not by threats, but by time. The base felt staged, not organized, prepared, like something had been practiced long before it arrived. He couldn't define it, and he didn't try. He simply started watching Aaron more closely. One evening, he asked casually, "Where did you train before logistics?" Aaron answered without hesitation, "Somewhere else." "Where?" Hale pressed. Aaron paused. "Long enough to matter," he said, "and nowhere that still exists." Hale laughed, unsure if it was humor. Aaron didn't smile. The unease grew not loudly, but steadily, like pressure before a storm. Jokes about Aaron stopped. Watching replaced mockery, and unanswered questions curdled into fear. The phrase "ghost line" appeared again, faintly chalked on a crate, half smeared, probably meaningless, probably accidental. Aaron erased it when no one was looking. His hands trembled afterward, only slightly. That night, he stood outside the command hall, breathing measured, eyes scanning. Something was coming. He didn't know what. He only recognized the rhythms of pause before impact, and for the first time in years, he felt anticipation. Because when the silence broke, he would not be a deputy. Not to the moment. Not to the truth. Not to what followed. The moment arrived without warning. A routine convoy. Drill controlled, predictable. Designed to test coordination, not courage. No live fire. No enemy simulation. The kind of exercise people stopped respecting. Colonel Hale observed from beside the command vehicle, arms folded. Radios murmured. Engines idled. Dust hovered like fog. Aaron stood a few steps behind him, not watching the drill, but the edges. A driver misheard an instruction. A squad moved early. A vehicle rolled forward too soon. Minor errors. Normal ones. Aaron stepped forward. "Hold," he said. No response. "Hold," he repeated. A sergeant frowned. "Deputy, step back. Hold." Something in his voice had changed. Not volume-authority. The lead vehicle lurched. A cargo line snapped. A steel crate swung loose, heavy and fast, arcing toward the cluster near command. Shouts erupted. Someone froze. Someone stumbled. Colonel Hale turned too late. Aaron didn't. He moved. Not hurried. Exact. He seized a nearby cable, yanked hard, redirected the swing just enough. The crate slammed into dirt instead of flesh. The ground shook. Dust exploded upward. Then silence. Aaron stood where he'd ended, breathing steady, hands calm. No one spoke. No one thanked him. "How did you?" someone began. Aaron stepped back into position. The drill continued. Nothing felt routine anymore. That night, whispers spread. He saw it coming. He reacted early. Lucky. A new report arrived. Drone movement along the outer ridge. Still inconclusive. Aaron read it once. Then again. Then went to the command hall. They're probing timing gaps, he said. We'll deal with it tomorrow, Hale replied. They're learning what we ignore. You're assuming again? Yes. Sir, then stop. Aaron paused at the doorway. If I'm wrong, we lose nothing. If I'm right, that's enough. He left. The next morning, patrol was nearly sent through the narrow valley Aaron had warned about. Nearly a storm rolled in. Visibility collapsed. The route was delayed by chance, by coincidence, by luck. Later, drone footage revealed unusual movement in that same valley. People didn't look at Aaron directly, but they looked. A radio glitch cut through the main channel that afternoon. Aaron reached for the receiver. Repeat, said calmly. Static, then silence. That night, Colonel Hale couldn't sleep. He kept replaying the moment with the crate, not the danger, but the timing. How did you anticipate that? He asked later. You don't learn it, Aaron replied. You survive it. That answer changed nothing and everything. Mockery vanished. Curiosity replaced it. People didn't ask Aaron questions. They asked about him. Then came the power fluctuation. Seconds only, but 2 perimeter sensors dropped offline. Aaron was already there. No announcement. No urgency. He rerouted manually. How did you know? A security officer asked. Aaron didn't answer. Another meeting followed. This time no one interrupted him. Then the room-filled officers leaned over tables. Radios hummed. Concrete echoed with boots. A visiting brigadier. General stood near the central display demos. Varric. Quiet, observant. A man who noticed people before maps. His attention paused on Aaron, then sharpened. Varric stepped closer. Where did you get that scar? The room stilled. From training, Aaron said. Varric exhaled. Barely audible. Ghost line. Silence became weight. You were supposed to be gone, Varric said, not accusing. Just stating truth. Aaron didn't deny it. Varric nodded, not to rank, but to history. Then it happened. No alarm. No build-up. Just a sound that didn't belong. Aaron moved before thought formed. He crossed the space between himself and Colonel Hale in less than a breath, pulling him down and aside. Placing himself between threat and commander, the next crack struck closer. Concrete shattered. Aaron felt the impact tear. Into his shoulder, he didn't fall. He shielded another shot. Tore fabric. Stole breath. He stayed upright. Then security arrived. The threat ended. Aaron stood 1 second too long, then his knees folded. Colonel Hale knelt beside him, not as a commander, but as a man who had almost died. You're clear, sir, Aaron said quietly. Then he closed his eyes, not unconscious, finished. Days later, Aaron returned to base quietly. No ceremony. No speeches. I was where I needed to be, he said to the one person who tried to thank him. Everything else had changed. People paused when he entered rooms. Voices softened. Postures straightened, not fear. Awareness. Colonel Hale listened when Aaron spoke, not out of obligation. But trust? Aaron never explained himself. He let silence do what it always had, because courage doesn't announce itself. It arrives. It shields, and then it returns to stillness. And that was the difference.